being a big Robotech and Macross fan, I had to pick up this mech. It's pretty much the Zentradi Officer's Pod from those series, if you're familiar with it. But the layout I'm using, or the loadout, is pretty standard, I think. You know, you put a bunch of lasers in the arms, and then you have some kind of large ballistic in your shoulder. And I'm running the LB-20, so again, you know, big shotgun style weapon. The problem I have with this build, and what I really need to learn from it, is trying to combine laser fire and projectiles, because you have to lead a projectile shot, but with a laser you have to trace your target. And so you'll see again and again that I'm trying to shoot something that's moving with my lasers and my projectile at once, and so my lasers will hit and my projectile goes wide. Also, check out this building here on the left. Does it say it's a pizza bar? I mean, is that something that actually exists? Because that would actually be pretty cool. But anyway, we'll be running into the middle pretty quickly, and for some reason I'm one of the first heavier mechs there. I don't really know what our other guys are doing. I think they're either lost or ultra slow. Maybe they were AFK for a little bit. Maybe they're getting their own pizza. Who knows? But anyway, since I'm one of the first larger mechs there, you know, I really do my best to try and hold that position when I move up. When I eventually move up. So this guy moves in, just starts taking all the shots. I tried to shoot at what I thought was shooting him from behind that corner.
Target acquired.
And so it looks like it's a dragon with some ballistics in its right arm. Probably the usual, you know, Ultra Cannon 2s or something. So I spend a little bit of time waiting for that dragon to peek out, and then I see that he's focusing on another target, and there's some laser fire that kind of tells me that he's probably already being suppressed by someone else. So I move up and try and take out some of their bigger targets. And that Victor's maybe a little too big for me. I mean, we actually have about the same amount of firepower, but he's got more armor than I do. And he's got some pretty serious backup. Now, being on the ramp, they're kind of ignoring me. You know, it's just one of those things that if you're not in their direct line of sight, sometimes they just don't realize you exist. So I was trying my best to take out that Annihilator, and it does go down. That's one of the many times right there where I try to shoot both weapons at the same time, and I really should have alternated my fire. You know, again, it's fine to shoot them both if they're either moving in a straight line, you know, or if they're just stationary, which does happen a lot. Also, despite having so many lasers, this mech is actually relatively cool. And I mean, I can keep firing even though I'm so close to the, you know, overheating. But anyway, at this point I decided I'd kind of had enough, and I started to back up. Then I saw an Annihilator was on the ramp with me, so I went forward again. Then, you know, I got shredded for doing that, so I decided to just let the Annihilator be my meat shield. And you can see he's kind of taking a pounding. So I thought, you know, well, maybe I'll see who else is around and if there's any targets behind us too, because I'm pretty torn up at this point, so if anything snuck up behind me, I'd die pretty quickly. And something was behind me. A couple of one stealth mech, and then another light. And I stupidly decide to try to get past the Annihilator, but I've only got one jump jet, there's no way I can do that. So I turn around and just decide to go face the music, you know, see what else is around the corner that's still alive. And surprisingly, our stalker is taking care of whatever was left over here.
Target acquired.
So then, this guy, I do a little bit better job of, you know, knowing when to shoot one weapon or the other. Here I took off his arm, which got rid of his PPCs, although they weren't really a big threat. Then I took off his other arm that had absolutely no weapons on it. And by this point I'm almost dead, so I'm trying to jump so I can block with my legs. Because, you know, if I'm up higher, then they're going to shoot my leg instead of my torso. But it only bought me a few more seconds. Still, you can see I did quite a bit of damage in that time. And so now I'm doing my usual thing and just, looking around to see what builds I like. And this Enforcer build is not bad. That player did pretty well with it, if I'm not mistaken. It's too bad his ECM got taken out. And the other thing is, he's got an ECM build, but he's firing nothing but lasers. And when you're firing lasers, they can see where those come from. So it sort of negates your ECM. I really thought that Jenner was going to do some good, and then he just fell over dead. Oh, and one of my settings was configured wrong, so you won't be able to hear any of the voice comms on this match. So anyway, now we're down to just, the last enemy player. And for whatever reason, I decided to just stay on the Stalker. Being an assault mech, he's just going to move around very slowly and was very unlikely to be the one to spot the last enemy. I should have gone to some of the faster moving targets to see if they could, at least provide a little more excitement. And again, this build is just not super interesting. It's a solid build, but it's just not super interesting. So I went back to the Ghillie, who, again, I like their build. And I think the last player pops up, yeah, right here.
Target acquired.
Before he can even get down there, the Annihilator just took him out. The Annihilator just sat there with his back to a wall, waiting for something to happen, and thankfully he was pointing right at the enemy. So anyway, I dealt quite a large amount of damage, or a pretty good amount of damage, took quite a bit, so, I did my job as a heavy. I didn't destroy very many components, but it was good enough. And we had a couple of other pretty exceptional, damage scores on here, so it was a good match. I like my little Zentradi officer's pod.